Very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice. 6 p.m. on a Friday evening. It's deadline day, and the latest news. I'm going to update you on the latest news, but you just got to give me 1 second. That's better. West Ham colours on. And close the window as well so you can hear me better. So, welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me. This is all the latest news on our transfer deadline day. And, well, a lot's been happening because I'm sure you already know. I spoke about it this morning. The Nottingham Forest loan deal for James Ward-Prowse is close. Now, I asked, is there any money involved? And I've been told again, no money involved. All that Nottingham Forest are doing are covering the cost of the players' wages. So 115 grand a week that they're covering, but no loan fee for James Ward-Prowse. Look, James Ward-Prowse is going to fall down further down the pecking order when it comes to us signing Carlos Soler, and at least at Nottingham Forest, he gets an opportunity to continue his decent Premier League career, rather than languishing on the benches at West Ham United. So fair play to him. A player that could have just sat there, taken his money and done very little, but he wants to play. He made 53 appearances for West Ham United, scoring 7 goals with 11 assists in all competitions. It's not a loan with an option to buy. It's not a loan with an obligation to buy. It's a straightforward loan. And he could be back at West Ham at the end of this season. I know that sounds a bit weird and a bit odd, but that's the deal that's happening at the moment. To not even get a loan fee for him is a bit it's odd. But there you go. That's the latest. And the next latest, of course, is that Maxwel Cornet loan move to Southampton is well and truly on. Now, I believe he's in Southampton undertaking his medical. We know that he's had injuries in the past, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Maxwel Cornet and whether he passes that medical. If he does, it's another loan option. Again, not a lot of money involved, if any at all, just a matter of Southampton covering his wages. And then, of course, we've got Kurt Zouma, Al-Orobah. The contracts are being finalised. He's taken his medical, and it looks like he is going to become an Al-Orobah player. Again, very minimal, if any, loan fee. In fact, in this case, we're paying a percentage of his salary. I've said this all before. Now, what does that mean for West Ham? Well, even though we're not getting any loan money in for any of these players, we are saving ourselves something like £290,000 a week in wages, which equates to, by the end of June next year, equates to something like £12.5 million in saved wages. Okay, we're getting players in, we know that, but that's the possible saving in wages. So I guess that eases the pain of getting the players that we've had in already and other players coming in as well. And the breaking news, of course, is that Carlos Soler has arrived in London and he's taking his medical at the club. With that, we will now. What we're doing with the Carlos Soler deal is, now that we're aware that the James Ward-Prowse deal is not happening in terms of an obligation to buy, the latest rumor is that we're trying to do a slightly different deal for Soler, where it was a loan with an obligation to buy, and it looks like we're trying to change that with an option to buy. Whether PSG will agree to that, I don't know. In fact, they want to let the player go, so I don't think they'll be up for that. So I think we're going to have to just oblige this one and agree to the loan with obligation to buy. We're going to have to just bite the bullet. However, with the money that we're saving on wages, his wages equate to something like 72 to 75,000 pounds a week. And I know many fans are bemoaning the fact that we're letting go a player who has made, like James Ward-Prowse, who has had a better season last season at West Ham than Carlos Soler has had at PSG. I hear that, but overall, pound for pound, we're getting a much better player in, to be quite honest with you, a more attack-minded player in. What other news? Well, let's talk about one player that has come out of the blue in a way, and that is Carney Chukwuemeka. Chukwuemeka. Now, depending on what you're reading, either West Ham United are trying to nick him from Man United because apparently Man United are interested in the player, or Man United are trying to nick him from West Ham. I don't know. All we know is that this has come about today. Apparently, we're looking at a loan deal. This player, 20 years of age, is on already £100,000 a week at Chelsea. They do have money to burn, don't they? He was signed from Aston Villa for a fee of £15 million in 2022. He made 16 senior appearances for Aston Villa, and he's since made 27 senior appearances for Chelsea, scoring 2 goals with 1 assist. So he's another player that's very similar in type to Carlos Soler. So why would we be going for yet another player in attacking midfield when we've got the players that we got, Mohamed Kudus and various other players, Paquetá, etc., and now that we're getting Carlos Soler in as well? Why are we looking at getting Chukwuemeka in as well? Well, look, he's a technically gifted player, great vision, great passing ability. He's a versatile midfielder, and I'm going to come back to that in a moment. He's good aerially. He's 6'2". He's good in the air. He's good on ground duels. Great composure and good work ethic, although he does need to improve his defensive duties when playing in central midfield. Now, I've got a theory, and it could be completely far-fetched, but I'm trying to work out why we would be remotely interested. The first thing, by the way, is it both Carlos Soler and Chukwuemeka, or is it one or the other? Now, if it's both, it really doesn't make much sense. They're not the players. We don't need 2 more central attacking midfielders. What we need is, depending on who leaves by the end of today, is if a Gerd leaves, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, along with Zouma, then we've got to go in for a central defender. We've got no choice but to look at trying to bolster our central defensive ranks. If we manage to sell Danny Ings or Mikel Antonio, and at this stage, there are no suggestions whatsoever that either of those players are going to leave, then we'll need a striker. Many would argue that we're going to need a striker anyway, because the choices that we have with Antonio, with Danny Ings, and with Nicholas Füllkrug, a lot of fans don't believe that's really adequate enough for what for the Premier League. And here's my theory. Chukwuemeka is an attacking midfielder. He's a very good attacking midfielder. He's a very good central midfielder. He's got good attacking abilities. And I just wonder whether, because we're finding it difficult to get a young John Duran type of player, whether we might be looking at converting Chukwuemeka into a striker. I could be completely wrong on this. I've looked at his stats. I've looked at his details. I've looked at his history with Aston Villa, playing through the youth ranks, and he's certainly a comfortable attacking midfielder. And I know in history we've had midfielders who have been converted to strikers. Well, not necessarily at West Ham, but other clubs. Well, no, even at West Ham, we've had that. So I just wonder if that's why we're looking at trying to get Chukwuemeka in, because it doesn't kind of make sense to me at this moment in time that we would be going for Soler and Chukwuemeka. But the news, as I've said, is that what we already know, JWP is already in Nottingham having his medical, and he should be announced later on today. It's a straight loan deal, no loan payment, just Nottingham Forest taking over his wages for the season of 115 grand a week. Maxwel Cornet, loan deal to Southampton. Again, possibly not looking at any money coming in, but certainly looking at that club taking on his wages of around 65 to 70,000 pounds a week. And Kurt Zouma, the contracts are being finalised, and we're going to be subsidising a portion of his £100,000 a week wages. Some have suggested that it's up to 50%, but I haven't had that percentage corroborated. But with all the savings that we could make on those three players in salaries, like I said, over a course of a year or up to the end of June, we could be looking at saving about £12.5 million in wages. And that means that it would be much more comfortable. God, I've got a lot of comments. I'll come to the comments in a moment. And it means that we'd be much more comfortable in getting a player like Carlos Soler over the line, who's already in London, taking his medical and should be announced before the end of the day. Right, before I move on, let's go into your comments. There are loads. Didn't realize there were so many of you here. So I'm going to go in and say good evening. Good evening to you, Phil. Philip, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Hammerette. I hope you're well. Just over 5 hours to go. Wouldn't it be nice just to think about the football rather than anything else after this? Mark, good evening, mate. 8 minutes ago, Darmish said Real Sociedad in advanced talks. Well, now you've stolen my thunder. Let's talk about that because that's exactly what I was going to say, Mark. Real Sociedad apparently are in a favourable position to sign Naif Agurd from West Ham United. I understand this is likely to be another loan deal. Again, I don't have the details because this is fresh off the press. As you can see, a number of different clubs have been interested. I mean, up until recent, the main deal that was on the table up until now was Al-Ittihad, who put in a loan bid of £4 million with a deal to sign the player on with an obligation to buy for 17 million next summer. Apparently, Naif Agurd, despite all the rumors that we've been hearing about, he wants to go to Saudi Arabia for the money, etc., seems far-fetched because he would rather play in Spain. So that means that the likes of Fiorentina are out of the equation. It means the likes of Porto in Portugal are out of the equation. He doesn't want to go to Saudi. He wants to go to Spain. And it was a choice between Villarreal and Real Sociedad. And it looks like Real Sociedad are winning the deal on that one. And like I said, if he goes along with Kurt Zouma, we have to go in for a defender. We must be looking at. My money's still on Chalobah. I asked Sean Whetstone earlier on today. I said, any news? And apparently we're not in for Chalobah, but it's going to have to be someone. My money's still on him, but who knows? Who knows? Mark, Stel, do you know if any buy options have been inserted into the Ward-Prowse loan move and the potential Cornet loan move? No, apparently not. I don't have the full details for Cornet at this moment in time, but I will catch up with those in a moment. I will, when I've got through this and I've got through your comments, we're going to put up on screen all the latest news so you can see for yourself what is going on. But definitely not for James Ward-Prowse and unlikely for Maxwel Cornet. Huge. Good evening to you. What's the points in a loan deal? What's the point in a loan deal for Ward-Prowse without an obligation to buy? Will we get him back at the end of the season, a year older and worth a lot less? At this moment in time, yes. And it seems rather odd, but it seems that and that's why we're apparently trying to renegotiate the deal for Soler to try and make it an option to buy, because we're not sure what's going to happen to James Ward-Prowse at the end of this season. It seems like we're trying to, by hook or by crook, we're trying to get players off the wage bill in order to be able to get other players in. It needs must, I guess. But I agree with you, Huge. Ricky, I hear Agurd will join Spurs as Lo Celso is going to Betis and they want him as a replacement. Watch this space. That's a new one to me. I've not heard that before, but it's a new one to me. By the way, 300 people watching. I'm really chuffed. Thank you very much. If you're new to this channel for the first time, please do consider becoming a subscriber of the channel, and please do hit the like button as well. Be much appreciated. Subscription costs you nothing, and all my content is free. Brooks, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Whatever happens before the end of this window, Souček cannot be a starter for us. That's not for you or I to say. I get what you mean, and I understand it. But I guess with Soler coming in, I think it'll be a completely different look to the lineup. I think what Lopetegui would do, as I've said before, is he'll look at the games coming up and he'll determine what kind of players he needs on the pitch in order to try and win the game. But isn't it great that he uses his substitutions? And isn't it great that we'll have different options available to us? Danny boy, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Don't. You can all have your opinion. No need to argue about it. So do be respectful to each other. Howard, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Yes, I was bang on today. I'm not going to be late anymore. Why should got a new leaf out of my own book. I've got to be early. Evening all to you, early doors. I hope you're well. Juha, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. There's a poltergeist shaking your table just before you start. You know what? I forgot to change my top and I forgot to turn the lights on. And otherwise, you would have been watching me in the dark. Fremer, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Wasim, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Joan, how are you? I hope you're well as well. Sarif Galispera, mate. I hope you're well too. Who else have we got? Shaky, good evening, mate. Is there any surprises in the pipeline for this evening? At this moment in time, no. The whole thing about Chukwuemeka did surprise me in a way, and I just did wonder. I'm really speculating. I'm going to be interested to see what you guys think of this, but I am really, really speculating. There's no way that I can see. It doesn't matter how good this young player is and what a great prospect he is. Get him in on loan, getting him in on loan, whilst we're also looking to get Soler in on loan. And we're trying to free up wages. So if we're freeing up 100 grand a week for Zouma, plus 70 grand a week for Cornet, that's 170, plus 115 for JWP, 170, 200, freeing up £285,000 a week. We're going to end up paying Soler, let's say £80,000. That's going to be balanced us. We've got over 100,000 pounds there. Are we going to give that to Chukwuemeka when we actually need either a defender if a Gerd goes or a striker if either Antonio or Ings goes? I'm not so sure. So I'm speculating, which is why I'm asking, could this young lad become a striker? Could he be converted to being a striker? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you think. You could tell me I'm crazy. You can tell me that's not a bad thought. You can tell me whatever. JWP is a perfect deal. They pay his wages. He plays and plays well, and that puts him in the shop window. Good evening to you, Sharky. Good evening to you, Kevin. I hope you're well. Gary, mate, I hope you're well. Eddie, Ed in the fields. Evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Gatesy, how are you? What happened? Absolutely nothing at this moment in time, Gatesy. We've heard nothing at all about him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Obsidian, why no bids for Souček? Because we're not selling him. Joan, thank goodness Cornet may be gone if he can pass his medical. Big if. Newcastle can't seem to sign anyone. I wonder if we can give them many of our players. Kim Joe, Moroccan defender might be leaving. Yep, just mentioned that. Let's scroll down. Thank you very much. Hit that like button. That'll be much appreciated. Colin, good evening to you, mate. I'm still hearing that there are chances of us getting Rios in. Forget about him. Duran, another central attacking midfielder. Kind of really doesn't make sense. Duran, wild speculation, to be really honest with you, mate. I think if we hear in the next few hours that Aston Villa have signed a striker, I will go all out and say we're going in for John Duran, if we hear that. But at this moment in time, nothing's happening there. Hammer it. I have a feeling there's a two fingers up to us. Ward-Prowse will score that Beckham goal. Yeah, he will. He'll get that goal tally, wouldn't he? It'd be typical. Let's give you some other news as well, because I forgot to mention him. Apparently, the other news is Andy Irving. It seems that Celtic and Hearts in Scotland are looking at potentially making a bid for him. This is on top of, apparently, clubs in Spain, clubs in Austria also being interested in the player. What do you think of that? Do you think that Andy Irving deserves a chance? Look, he's not made any of the subs benches in all the games that we played, even the midweek game against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup, or the Corrupt Cup, as I'd like to now call it. Andy Irving apparently is attracting interest from Scottish clubs, both Celtic and Hearts, as well as clubs abroad in Spain and in Austria. The Butcher, what have I butchered now? Probably the name. I know. Obsidian, Ward-Prowse can't play against us. No player can play against us if on loan, Obsidian. Kim Joe, not for me, the Chelsea player. I don't think we need another midfielder. Exactly. That's what I thought immediately. But let's see. Peter, Chelsea can pay half his wages if we go for him. 100. Well, could. They've got, how many players have they got? 47 senior players. What on earth is going on there? But who cares? It's not our shit show. It's their shit show. Do we honestly care? Let them be hit by FFP and PSR. Ryan, when he leaves on a permanent next year, he will bang one in against us. Charles, good evening, mate. Hammerette, loan deal, JWP. Can't play against the Hammers. Can't. P-Gads, hello, mate. I hope you're well. I'm hoping Irvin sticks around. Epic, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Gary, I don't trust the Agurd situation. I hope we get Chalobah. Chalobah is the only one at this moment in time that I can think of that's likely to come to West Ham. He's available. He's a player that can, as I mentioned in the show I did this morning, he's a player that can cover both sides of central defence. You know, he can play. He's a right-footed player, but he can play on the right. He can play on the left. And also he can cover at right back. And what I said this morning, if you didn't watch that show, is that if we do have a problem with Aaron Creswell being out for a short period of time, we've seen now that Aaron Wan-Bissaka can fill in on the left, should, God forbid, we get an injury with Emerson. And then someone like Chalobah can be a backup or be the right back alongside Soufal. So it kind of does make sense, but I'm being told that we are not interested in Chalobah. Stephen, good evening to you, mate. We definitely need a striker. I would agree. But it really all depends on if we're going to be able to move one of our strikers on. And there's no news at all for Danny Ings, no news at all for Mikel Antonio. Peter, our strike force needs rockets up their asses to score goals. Absolutely. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got here? Stephen Plaistow. Good evening, mate. Hopefully Agurd will go to sell Real Sociedad. We can't get him out the door, not for the want of trying. Him just saying no, and he has been. He has turned down quite a number of offers, and we keep getting conflicting stories about him. One story is that he doesn't want to leave. Another story is he's felt isolated. He's been left. Leave off, mate. You know, when we needed you last season, he was not available because he was injured, and yet when there was an international game, all of a sudden he's cured. I think he's blown it. You know, he's blown it at West Ham United because of that attitude. He may now want to stay at West Ham, but I think he's absolutely blown it, to be honest with you. Peter, under 21s kick off at 7 against Norwich at YouTube. Well, let's hope they do another 5-star performance. Montana, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Why are all our outgoings on loan? Because we can't get anyone to buy them. Yes, their salaries are being paid at least, except for, of course, Kurt Zouma. Colin, Stel, could it be that they are getting them players in for Paqueta? Could be going back to Brazil? No. Paqueta's definitely not going back to Brazil. But as I've said in previous shows, we don't know the situation with Paqueta at this moment in time. We may have him the whole season. We may have him until January. We may have him until next week. We do not know what's happening with the charges that are being made against him. I know his lawyers have asked for not a stay of execution. They've asked for longer to prepare for a response, which they've got. But we don't know at this moment in time how long that delay is for. There were suggestions earlier in the year that, early in the year, he was charged at the end of the season. There were suggestions at the end of the season that maybe we start hearing about what happens with Paqueta around about January. So, yeah, Colin, you've got a good point there. It could be to cover for Paqueta, but not necessarily for him going back to Brazil. Good evening to you, Victor. I hope you're well. Agurd on his way to Real Sociedad on loan. That's my understanding. Sharky, 115 grand a week. How is JWP managing to get on that? You tell me. All our players seem to be on big contracts, long-term contracts. And I mean, have we even allowed ourselves to get to this situation? Hammerett, I heard a Gerd has turned down Wolves. He's turned down a number of clubs. He turned down Wolfsburg. He turned down Wolves. He's turned down several other clubs. So it's a 4 million loan with 16 obligation to buy only if he goes to Saudi. That's the deal from Al-Ittihad. That's not the deal from Real Sociedad. I don't know what the deal is at the moment, but we will try and catch up with what it is. Good evening, Darren. I hope you're well. Obsidian. Gerd could be jeopardizing his international career if he don't move. Do you know what? I don't think he will, to be really honest with you. He's so well thought of in this in international football for Morocco that I don't even think that will affect him if he languishes on the benches. I really don't. Anthony, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Hang the Traitors, good evening to you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If you love the show, please do hit that like button. If you love the show, please do become a subscriber of the channel. Danny boy, I have to take so much morphine just to get through the day. It takes its toll, mate. I'm really sorry to hear that. Just keep in there, mate, and we wish you all the very best. Chalobah from P-Man would be a great signing. I know he's had his injuries as well. I mean, you know, he's had his fair share. He was out for quite a lengthy amount of time last season with, I think it was a cruciate ligament, but he came back and he actually looked pretty decent for Chelsea at the tail end of last season. So, yeah, I'm surprised he's been sidelined, but there you go. Hammerett, I haven't heard of many people upset about our captain going. Who's our captain? No captain's going anywhere. Ironics, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Why has Soler form dropped so much? And do you think it will come back? I do. I do think Soler's, I don't think Soler's form has dropped. I think Soler, as I've said in previous shows, is the victim of circumstance. You've got a very good player that played for a decent club. He played for Villarreal. He was absolutely superb for them. He was their playmaker, a little bit like, you know, the playmakers that we like, a bit like James Ward-Prowse in a way. You know, James Ward-Prowse last season, 7 goals, 11 assists at West Ham. And Soler at Villarreal had similar sort of stats on a consistent basis. He was their top goal scorer for 2 seasons in a row, and then he went to PSG, and it's almost like a big what's the saying? A little fish in a big pond. You know, all of a sudden, when you're going into a team, you're a good footballer, but then you got all these megastars there as well. The chances of you playing are going to become negligible. I don't think he's lost his form. He made 63 appearances in 2 seasons for PSG, but he only scored something like 8 goals and 8 assists in all that time. I think he was just a victim of how many times have we seen a really decent footballer, be really, really good for their club? They go to a bigger team and all of a sudden they're not as good anymore. And I think that's what's happened. I think, with the greatest of respect to him, I don't mean it in a nasty way to him or in a bad way to West Ham. I think West Ham is his level. It's the sort of club that he'll come to and he'll do really well. And he could make the difference for us next season. Peter, is Chalobah over his? Yes, he is. He had an injury beginning of last season, I believe, and he got through it and he played, I think, the last dozen or so games for Chelsea. Yes, Victor, he's also linked to Crystal Palace as well. I'd like him to come to West Ham. I think he's a versatile enough player to be able to come in and do a job for us. Let's see what happens there. Montana, now that it looks like a Gerd is going alongside Zouma, we have got to go in for a central defender. Montana, one good thing about all these loans is at least we're not making a loss on our players. It's a really good point, and how many times have we lost money when we've sold players? Glenn, good evening to you. Keeping it a redknapp-free night. Good evening, mate. Obsidian, my cat is a sadomasochistic. He will miss Zoom. Who else have we got down here? Let's say hello to you, and then we can see what the latest rumours are. Montana, I read on Dartmouth's post, it's an option to buy for 20 million euros. Who's the option to buy? You need to tell me later on in the chat, and I'll pick it up. Trini, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good to see you. Shaky. Hearts and Celtic are in for Irving, apparently. Yep, just mentioned that. Yes, I did. I'm working from home today. I was working from home. So what I did was I did the morning show, but I was also doing catching up on emails. Then I had to cut. That's why I would have stayed on otherwise. And now I've finished work. So there you go. Mr. Rolf, good evening. I'll see you tomorrow, sir. I hope you're well. I don't know where we're going for a drink, though. So message me and let me know. Will, Chimichanga. Chumbawamba. Don't confuse me. It's bad enough as it is that I can't pronounce names. Patrick, I remember first 5 games for us. Ward-Prowse was sensational. Then there was the international break, and the media was complaining he wasn't picked. Then he was asked to play deep, and then we lost him completely. Mind you, we lost most of the team after the internet. Well, after Christmas, didn't we? Montana, do we need another number 10? No. Do we need a central midfielder? No. Not another luxury injury-prone Chukwuma. I don't know. I haven't looked at his injuries, and I don't really know how bad, if they're bad. So do tell me. P-Man, would be good business to loan Irving to Celtic. If true, it looks like they might want to buy him, from what I understand, but I could be wrong. We're going to go into the latest news in just a moment. Hammerett, I don't think we played Ward-Prowse to his strengths. However, pleased he won't just be sitting on our bench. Let's scroll down. Who else do we have? The surprise is Charles Duran to West Ham. I don't think there is a surprise, to be quite honest with you. I actually really don't. Well, actually, I take that back. Let's see what happens in this window, because we've been trying to move players like Cornet, Gerd, Zouma, for quite some time. If those 3 players are gone, and then maybe a bonus of moving on. Well, I don't know if it's a bonus of moving on Ward-Prowse. I would have wanted him to stay, but I understand why he would want to go. So if we moved 4 players on, and possibly a striker as well in either Danny Ings or Mikel Antonio, then there's got to be a surprise or 2, hasn't there? Is Cornet still on the move? My understanding is he is. Brian, good evening to you. Please say we're getting Duran. We're getting Duran, but I don't believe that that's true at this moment in time, mate. I'm really sorry. Montana. Souček can now play the game he likes, box and box. He will score loads. I can just see it. There you go. There's always a positive, isn't there? Brooke, was Chukwuemeka bloke the surprise they mentioned on KUMB? Could be. It was only announced today, but I still don't know if that's really. I still don't know if that's really a story that we should be going with, unless, like I said, he could be a player that could be pushed up front. I don't know. Epic. Still, latest news is that Irving turned down all offers and wants to fight for his place. Very interesting indeed. Scott, good evening to you. Aston Villa hold interest in Nicholas Jackson. Emery managed him while he was in Spain. If that happens, then I would say that we are looking at potentially going back in for John Duran. Give who a chance. Rec, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Brian, good evening, mate. Would have kept JWP and sold Souček. A lot of people say the same thing. Kevin, any news on concessions? Nothing up to date as yet. X says there's a 5% chance on Duran. Well, that's 4% more than what Sean Whetstone said at the beginning of the week. Will, X said Chupacabra was the surprise player everyone was whispering about. I don't know. Maybe it was. But I'm really not sure if we're going for him. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Ryan, I was at the Hearts game last night. We could do with it. We could do with Irving. Garino, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Our midfield has no energy, no legs. Soler isn't a fast player, but he's a creative player. Let's see how that's going to happen. Let's see how that's going to work out. Sharky, Stel the Butcher is one of my nicknames. Nick, good evening, mate. JWP can play against us if on loan. No, he can't. If that's a clause included in the loan, no loan player can play against his home team. So no, he can't play against us. Ray, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Hope JLo will allow our talented recruits to play for their best of their ability. However, I think our new style of play might mean that they have to play in third gear and not fifth. No, I think what he's doing is is trying to get as many diverse players in as possible to be able to change formation, to be able to change the style of play. That's exactly what I think he's doing here. WHKS, good evening to you. Thank you for joining. Shaky, I'm not a hater, but I just can't see what Souček brings to the table. 10 goals a season. Look, I know, goals aren't everything, but they do win you games. So they are everything. We need a pacey striker. We do indeed. If we move on one of our strikers tonight, then I can see us going in for another player. If, as has been suggested, Aston Villa are looking at another striker, then it's quite possible. Yes, apparently Sharky, Tony is off to Saudi Arabia. He's got the deal that he wants. So good luck to him. Juha, why would we need a striker? We can hardly get the ball over the halfway line. Oh, boo. Michael Taylor, good evening to you. If a Gerd makes the move to Real Sociedad, I hope we're working behind the scenes to get in a replacement. Chalobah is the one I'm thinking of as well. Morrow, good evening, mate. It's beyond the realms of possibility. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that we have guys in our academy to step up? All our best academy players have been loaned out. The only one I can think of in defence is Caelan Casey. But at this moment in time, would Caelan Casey be ready to step in as a backup? I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you. I really, really don't know whether he would. In terms of other players, it looks as if maybe Ollie Scarles might be going out on loan. We've loaned out, just all the players that we thought that could possibly make it in terms of sort of coming into the senior team are all gone out. All our best ones have all gone out on loan. Lewis Orford, of course, the player that signed a 5-year deal. It's quite possible that he could come in, but he's another midfielder. Up front, no is the answer, to be honest with you. I know, the young player's name, Ajuba. I can't remember. I think his name is. He's only 17 years of age, and he looked fantastic for the under-21s the other day, but he's still raw. So no is the answer. Sorry, long answer to a short question. At this moment in time, no. Dad's our pocket. Thank you for the email. I haven't replied. We've rehearsed for our debut stream. We're looking forward to chatting with you later. Adam, Rob, and Callum from our. Thank you, chaps. I'm not going on all night. There's no way I'm going to be on all night. What time is it? 7:30. So yes, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Cram. Good evening, mate. Lopetegui is looking for a central mid player that can carry the ball, pass from midfield to our attackers. This is Soler, is my understanding. Jason, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. James Ward-Prowse going to Nottingham Forest. Southampton want Cornet and Ings. At the moment, Cornet is at Southampton, and at the moment, James Ward-Prowse is at Nottingham. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Who's... You're my troll, usual. Stop trolling. Hammer it. So what is the total of players out this window? Do you know what? I haven't counted that. Good question. I don't know. What I'm doing, by the way, is tonight, I'm not going to compete with the 378,000 other West Ham channels trying to do a show between the hours of 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. I'm going to come on later tonight. I'm going to do a Friday late night. And I'm going to have a couple of special guests on as well. And after the transfer window closes, when all the dust has settled, etc., I'm going to be on and we're going to look at that. Hammerette, that's a really good question because I haven't tallied them up. How many players have gone? How many players have come in? What money we've saved? What money we've made, etc., etc. What money we've spent? And then we're going to have a look at the squad in total. Once we know. Now, I know there are other transfer windows, like the Saudi transfer window is open a bit later, I think till Monday, etc. So I know other deals could be done. But in terms of our business, players coming in, we've only got until 11 o'clock to register an interest. So what I'll do tonight, when all the 3,048,000 other West Ham channels do their transfer window shows, deadline day shows, I'll be back on later when it's all a bit tranquil. We'll have a little drink and a Friday late and talk about the transfers with my special guests on as well. Peter, why did a Gerd? And by the way, if you want to watch that, you've got to subscribe and hit the bell notification to let you know that show's on so you don't miss it. Peter, why did a Gerd turn down Saudis as I thought he wanted to go there? Confusing, mate. completely confusing because we keep hearing conflicting stories about a Gerd. Now, I kind of sort of facetiously said earlier in the week and on my show this morning is maybe he thinks that a club like Real Madrid are coming in for him. Maybe he thinks he's better than the clubs that have made bids for him. It's really, really confusing as to what the expectation was. Now we hear that Real Sociedad are the club going in for him, and it looks like potentially he may be going there. Daniel, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good day, possibly for outgoings. Mead Soler in. One more in, maybe. I'd take a left back over a striker. What about you? No, I would take a striker because I do agree. I think we need something a little bit different for a striker. I get what you're saying, Creswell with his injury, etc. But as I mentioned this morning, I mean, we saw, not that we want square pegs in round holes, but we saw Aaron Wan-Bissaka do a pretty decent job as left back cover on Wednesday. So we know he can play that role. But so for that alone, at the moment, I would prefer a striker coming in. At this moment in time, we've got no news on Danny Ings. So it looks as if he's staying. Good afternoon, Douglas. I hope you're well. Good afternoon, Epic. Spanish fans think Soler is allergic to progressing the ball. I don't really know what to expect. Sounds like he's just a Spanish JWP. He's more progressive. It's interesting that Spanish fans think that. He was superb at Villarreal. Well, I would keep Ings and let Antonio go. Who knows? Peter, I heard earlier on, Talkie Bollocks, Darren Bent was raving over Soler. I'm raving over Soler, to be honest with you. Well, I would keep Irving and let Souček go. Gary, nothing against Antonio, but I'd rather see him off than Ings. How many years have I been saying that we can't keep relying on Mikel Antonio to lead our front line? And I'll stick to that. This is just another year too many on top of the last couple of years too many. I've got nothing against him. I think he's been superb for West Ham United. But how many years have we relied on Mikel Antonio to lead the line? It seems odd. Peter, so seeing you Arsenal signing, Marino has picked up a shoulder injury in training. That's how how it goes. Turbo, good evening to you. What's tomorrow's scoreline? I reckon the usual 5-1. No, we'll beat them tomorrow, and then we'll go away to Liverpool and beat them as well in the corrupt cup. Colin, still, if we don't get a striker in, it will be a disaster for Antonio and Ings because Ings are past their best. Just not good enough. Fulkrug undecided. Could play Kudus and Bowen up front. New Cotti and McAvenny. We could put Kudus up front. We could put Bowen up front. I would rather we went out and got ourselves a pacey striker. But absolutely, and maybe that's why we're getting all these midfielders in. So we do push one or the other because both Kudus and Bowen can play. Bowen can play this as a number 9. Kudus can play as a false number 9. So good shout on that. Reckon it'd be 4. Stop it. We're going to win tomorrow. Jason, I heard Sullivan said that there's a 5% chance that we will sign Duran. Well, like I said earlier on in the show, that's 4% more than it was earlier in the week. Hammerit. Soler played under Loppi before. No. He may have been in the Spanish under-21s with him, but I don't think he played for him in domestic football. No, he played for Villarreal. So I think it would have been for the Spanish team, the Spanish under-21s. If that is the case, then going by Lopetegui wanting Kilman and how that turned out, then I'm happy with his choice. Good evening to you, James. Paquetá stay of execution. Stel was only buying yellows. No need for the black headgear. Good evening, mate. Stay of execution. We just don't know what's going to happen with Paquetá at this moment in time. Montana, epic. Thank goodness it's on loan, but I highly doubt it. Looking at Guido, a lot of people slated him. Yet he looks clear. He will get good. You've got to give these players time to settle in. Peter, will the players going out on loan put us in a mess when they come back? Very, very possibly. Very possibly. Excuse me, unless we can do some kind of deals to, have them gone permanently throughout the season. Michael, Souček is a good squad player if need to get a goal or defend a goal, but he's dog poo in the middle. Shaky. I didn't want Lanzini to go. Still thought he had a lot to offer. Yeah, we always think that, and then we realise that we can get better player. The thing is, when you let a player go, so long as you get a better player in, then you're kind of forgiven for thinking that we should have kept a player. Hammerett, I'd like to see Bowen back up top, put Kudus on the right, Paquetá centrally with Summerville on the pinch, Antonio Fulkrug and Tati as impact subs, perhaps. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got here? Ultra, good evening to you. We really need another striker, one who is more mobile, who can score goals without service. I'm worried about Fulkrug not working and only having Antonio as the other option. A lot of people think much the same. Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Really appreciated. Garino, there were stories of a left field signing at the end of the window for around £40 million mark for weeks. We're not spending £40 million at this stage of the transfer window, especially when all our players that are going out on loan and minimal money is coming in. We could look at getting another loan signing, but otherwise, I doubt very much we're going to get a player that's coming in at that sort of money, mate, unless it's an obligation to buy next season. Montana, Wolves fans slated Kilman. Me too. I doubted his signing, but so far he has proven so calm for our defence. I agree. And I think he's made even Mavropanos play better alongside him. Peter, Somerville's decided to go play rugby after that shot the other night. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Nick, we're getting Mbappe as Endrick is going to be Madrid's first choice. There you go. Good evening, Mark. I hope you're well. If any players leave, we have players ready to sign days ago. If any players leave, we have players ready to sign days ago, like Soler as a prime example. Garino, latest ITK tidbit from KUMB. Irving management as he is very Irving management is very good utility player, can play in a variety of positions if we are short at any point. Look, it's interesting. I want Irving to succeed, to be quite honest with you. He may not be the best player, but given his versatility, good shout. Ricky, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. That's our podcast, Stel. We're all ready to make our debut stream. Yep, saw that one, mate. Thank you for that again. Good evening to you, Glenn. How are you? I hope you're well. Right, 343 people watching. If you've yet to hit the like button, please do hit the like button. If you've yet to become a subscriber, then please do subscribe to the channel. Costs you nothing to do so. All my content is free. Glenn, who's our mystery player then? Really don't know at this moment in time. And I don't think even the people at the club know who our mystery player is. At this moment in time, there isn't one. Unless you're going to say it's this player from Chelsea, Chuck Wameka. That's the only player at this moment in time that's the new player that's been linked to us in this transfer window. Nick, yes, they can. A lone player can play against their own club, but it has to be a very specific clause in the deal, which is rarely done. It's something that clubs just don't like doing. I'm inclined to disagree with you, but if you can show me that clause, then I'll gladly accept that. Garino, Zouma will be pleased that Tony is going to Saudi Arabia. Probably thought his knees were in for a holiday. He won't be pleased. Jason, Stel, JWP and Ings leaving 2 homegrown players. Does that affect the size of our squad? Yes, it would. It would absolutely affect the size of our squad, which again goes back to, is this why we're going in for Chukwuemeka? Because he will be classed as a homegrown player. Now, I know he was born in Austria, but he developed through the Aston Villa youth ranks, which will make him homegrown. So, yes, you're absolutely right. If both James Ward-Prowse and Danny Ings go, we're down to 7 homegrown players, and we would need to get a homegrown player in. Good shout. Ricky, Luzal, Orford, Swire all start for the under-21 teams tonight, but Ollie Skiles is missing from the squad. Could be drafted in as cover for Cresswell or going out on loan. Could be both. That's a good shout. I believe Skiles will be the next one to very likely go out on loan. But you're right, Ricky. At this moment in time, he may be needed more to come in as backup. Good shout. Montana, Moyes gave very lucrative contracts and yet complained we could not compete with teams like Villa and Newcastle, which says a lot. We should keep Casey. That's if Edgard goes. There's no talk about him going out on loan at this moment in time. Gary, about a left back, if Cresswell is out for a long time, yeah, it could be that Ollie Scholes could come in. Nick, the rule that says they can't play against their parent club is only for the Premier League. They can play against parent team in other competitions. Interesting. You know what? I genuinely didn't know that. West Hamian. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. For someone that was so desperate to leave, Agerd is certainly looking extremely stubborn. Isn't he just, mate? Isn't he just? Brooke, Sociedad probably winding us up with Agerd for getting Soler. I don't know. Apparently, the latest rumor is that they're in talks with him. Trini, the rules regarding loan players playing against their parent club comes from the Premier League and is not permitted. There you go. You punt on Chilwell, not for 190 grand a week, his salary, mate. I'm afraid not. And his injury record as well. Good evening to you, Rec Combat Soldier. Everton in for JWP. They're going to have to be fast because he's at Nottingham undertaking his medical. But never say never. The player's not a player at a club until that contract is signed. You know, even if a player does a medical, agrees, you know, verbally, etc., until that contract's signed, a player can go anywhere. Platinum Finger, good evening to you. Souček frustrate the heck out of me most of the times, but let's not forget the 7 of his 10 Premier League goals last season were winners. Absolutely. Garino, Southampton can't sign Cornet, and Ings on loan, only one allowed. Very good shout. I read that earlier on. That's a good shout. You're absolutely correct. You can only sign one player on loan from any one club. Absolutely. Early doors. 3-hour transfer deadline coming up. Here we go. I'm not doing 3 hours, mate. I'm telling you that. If you're watching at the moment, I will be back on. I don't know what time I'll go off tonight. I haven't made a plan. I'll just go on until I run out of steam. Because oh yeah, I do have a bit of water. I'm going to go on until I run out of steam, or at least give you some breaking updates, news on transfers. But I will be back on to do a late tonight. What time tonight? It will probably be 11, more likely 11:15, 11:30. That's the time I would likely come on. But I'll put it up. I'll get it the details up, ready and waiting for you guys to know. Obsidian. Gerd wanted to leave when he thought he was Champions League. Now he's realised his championship. He wants to stay. Garino. Stel would do a live striptease for every player that leaves or signs. He is elasticated socks ready. You really don't want to see that. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? My goodness. You guys are eager tonight, aren't you? Keeping me on my toes. Michael. To play Saturday, they needed to be registered by noon yesterday. Did they? I didn't know that. Well, no, you're absolutely right. But yeah, we can still sign them though. But you're absolutely right. To play Saturday, they would have to have been signed the day before. Good point. Gary, I think I heard they would have to be registered by noon today. Well, make your minds up, people. Trini, we should not be relying on Creswell at all. Just get a left back. No, we shouldn't be relying on him. But I don't think we're going in for a left back before the transfer window shuts. Matt, I feel like we've missed out on Jonathan David. In my opinion, we've been linked with him for a few seasons now. He's a good player. Peter, wonder if Obama will be on the bench for Man City to wind us all up. Good shout. Good shout. Let's scroll down. Who else do we have? Paul, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Can see Ings getting a payday and being paid to leave. But there is the thing, as mentioned before, now that James Ward-Prowse is going, we might have to keep Ings just for the homegrown numbers. So that's a good point. Gennaro, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. My pleasure doing the show. I'm excited about the arrival of a couple more faces. Bit concerned about some of these loans deals with no obligation to buy. Yeah, other people have mentioned that as well. It is an odd one. Ronnie, I hope you're well, mate. Not doing the late one still. I'm off to the pub, but on my phone. There you go. There's one of my guests. He would rather go to the pub than do a late show. So I'm one guest down now. Thanks for that, Ronnie. Come on anyway, even if you're pissed. David, another season with Antonio up front sums up. It's not been a good transfer window. I won't lie. You know, Antonio's been great for us, but I do fear him leading the front line for us again. I don't think it's right. Obsidian, Kilman keep Haaland in his pocket, and Wolves ask for another 20 million. Ironics. Let's see how Haaland will do against Kilman tomorrow. Scoring goals haven't been our problem. It's leaking far too many in the other end. Is really good point. Absolutely spot on. Hammer it. I thought I was bonkers thinking we could get a point tomorrow, but it seems I'm the only one here. No, we're going to win. Montana, Todibo and Kilman to silence the City attack. I can't see Todibo starting, but I can certainly see Mavropanos starting alongside Kilman. Definitely. Anthony, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. I really, really do appreciate it. Hearing on Sky, Agerd is staying. It will not surprise me. It will not surprise me one bit. You know, I've said earlier, it's really confusing about Naif Agerd. You know, 1 minute is going, next minute is going to Saudi, next minute he wants to go to Spain, next minute this, next minute that. We've heard earlier on that apparently it was in talks with Real Sociedad. I don't think the player himself knows what he wants, you know. Michael, Soler is the player that we didn't replace when Lanzini left. Good shout, that. Peter, thought Guilherme would go out on loan as he won't get much game time. Let's see what happens. Apparently, you know, Lopetegui said we've signed him. He's going to be in and around the senior team. So at some point, we might get to see him. Montana, Trimi says Dartmouth is Sociedad bound. There you go. See all these stories that are coming out. It's really, really weird. Glenn, Tony passed medical. Sullivan cutting the middleman out. Time to jump in. Oh, wouldn't that be good? But apparently he wants the money. He wants the big money. Thank you again there, Anthony. Really appreciated, mate. Nick, Stel, I read the deleted message. I explained what I meant. Yes, thank you. I did read that. Peter, do you get fined if you don't have enough homegrown players? Yes. I think it's more than getting fined. So you've got to... Basically, if you've got a 25-man squad, there's got to be 8 homegrown players. If you've got a 24-man squad, down to 7 homegrown players. 23-man squad, 6 homegrown players, and so on and so on. Chrissy, Ward-Prowse, so slow he needs a moped to get around the pitch, same as Socek. DJ Bombjack, good evening to you. Really hope we sign Chuck so we can start repurposing Chuck Norris memes. There's a use for him, isn't there? Let's scroll down. Who else we got? Montana. Stel, is Whetstone joining the stream? No, I haven't asked him. He's still out in Spain sunning himself. He joined the stream this morning. Yeah, it was all right. You know, gave us some not good information earlier on. Scott, if Agerd leaves, we need another centre-back. Agreed. I feel we need another striker to help Fulkrug. I agree with that as well. Oh, I meant, are you doing a late one? Yes, I'm doing a late one, mate. Sorry, I didn't understand. Yes, you go to the pub, you go ahead and have your drinks. You know, don't worry about me. I'll hold the fort. Yes, I'm doing a late one. Basically, when I come offline, I'll come back on again tonight around about 11 or after 11. That's the late show I was asking you about when I messaged you. Oh, I got my guest back. There you go. He'll be half cut, but hey, sometimes that's better, isn't it? So yes, Ronnie, I'm doing a late show as well. Let's scroll down. Who have we got? Rhett. West Ham, Paris Saint-Germain are close to finalising an agreement over a loan move for Carlos Soler, with the deal not having an option or obligation to buy, according to journalist Duncan Castles. That's a new one, because my understanding was that Paris Saint-Germain wanted an obligation. That's very interesting. If I'm going to see if I can follow that up in a moment. Paul, evening. So what happens to our home players after selling Ward-Prowse? We've still got 8. If you remember my saying, Crescencio Somerville, strangely enough, has now been counted as a homegrown player. Well, none of us thought that he was. So we do have, with Ward-Prowse leaving, we still have 8 homegrowns in the squad. If we get rid of another homegrown player, that's when we're going to have to look at bringing in another homegrown player in. Trini, could the mystery player be Reece Nelson? Just heard from Darmish. The 4 clubs are interested in him. Talked about Reece Nelson earlier in the week, so not so much of a mystery, but it's possible. But he's another wide player. This is what I don't get. Now, actually, Reece Nelson actually could play up front. He plays across the front line. Preferably, he plays out wide, but possibly. I talked about him in the West Ham Weekly on Monday, Trini. I'll hold that one. Yeah, okay. It's possible. Danny Boy, all the vape tech all came from weed. They vaped it long before tobacco. Don't know anything about weed. Well, apart from when I'm used to smoke it. Hammerette, what's the latest? Rios latest? Apparently they want £85 million for him. Forget about it. Daniel, the only place that Gerd is going is in the under 21s. Good evening to you, Stephen. I hope you're well. I hear a Gerd is holding out for Barcelona to call. We've all joked about it, but, you know, wouldn't be surprised if that's what he thinks his level is at. Montana, still the under 21s look good. They do indeed. I watched the 5-1 that they did the other day. They look fantastic. GJ, good evening, mate. The scoring goals point. A pacey striker totally changes the dynamics of the team. We would be a force. Don't disagree. We would be. Peter, under 21s. We don't seem to have any. We don't seem to have as many big bruisers in the under 21s like we did in the past. They've all gone out on loan. That's why. Michael, I thought I was procrastinating when I didn't know whether a Gerd was leaving or staying, but now I'm not so sure. Scott, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. We're massive. Always are. Stel, can others join you tonight? Absolutely. I'll send out a link. Who else have we got here? Mark. Andy Irvine is set to stay at West Ham past tonight's deadline. The midfielder has plenty of options to leave today, but has decided he wants to stay and fight for his place. Robert, Bowen up front. That's why we're in for a wide man. Good shout. No, I didn't. I lied. Well, I didn't lie. I'm lying. I'm not lying. I wouldn't admit it, would I? Right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's see if this works now. Share my screen. Go to the window, go to that, share. Can you all see that? Right. It looks a bit small. Let's update the latest. So what have we got? Transfer deadline day, Celtic transfer deadline bulletin for Andy Irving. Player heading to London to play for Lopetegui. West Ham will have options. I'm guessing that's Soler. Let's see if that is Carlos Soler. So we know all about that. Let's put that down. Tell me if you can see that, apart from the bloody adverts. Tell me if you can see that, people. Developments. Journalist shares what he's heard. Different on West Ham, Carlos Soler. So let's see this one. Carlos Soler, no option to buy for Carlos Soler. So thank you who put that up. West Ham United reported West Ham's reported loan move for Paris Saint-Germain outcast Carlos Soler, contrary to reports, does not include an obligation to buy, according to Duncan Castles, who reveals that the midfielder is currently undergoing his medical. I'm going to get that corroborated because it will surprise me if we don't look at, if PSG don't look at an option to buy. What else have we got? Declan Rice, Ward-Prowse completes medical. There you go. James Ward-Prowse has completed his medical for Forest. Do tell me, can you see the screen? Let's have a look. Still used to blah blah blah. According to some fans, we're signing Turan. Yeah, because that's wishful thinking. How much were those shoes you clicked away? I don't know. Soler's got to happen. Yes, you can see it. Fantastic. Good. It might be small, so forgive me if it's small, if you're watching especially from a phone. What else have we got? So he's completed his medical. Twist after Everton. James Ward-Prowse, twist after Everton made a late deadline day move for West Ham star. West Ham United midfielder James Ward-Prowse is closing in on a deal to sign for Nottingham Forest. Ward-Prowse only joined West Ham, blah, blah, blah. 29-year-old is currently undergoing his medical. We've heard he's now completed it. Moving the former Saints man, etc., etc. And the twist emerges whilst the former Southampton midfielder is all set to join Forest. It appears as though there could be a late twist. Well, come on then. Tell us what the late twist is. According to Give Me Sport, Everton have made a late attempt to sign Ward-Prowse before he opts to join for Nottingham Forest. What do you think of that? I think that's a load of baloney. There's no way that Ward-Prowse is going to Everton. I think he's definitely staying at Nottingham Forest. Reports. Last gasp move by Celtic on Andy Irving. Celtic are set to snap up one midfielder, but Brendan Rodgers can now raid West Ham, blah, blah, blah. Celtic's focus, but we've already heard that Irving prefers to stay and fight for his place at West Ham United. What have we got here? You've got to close your PH tab. What's PH tab? I don't want Dead Fallout channel. Good evening to you. What's my PH tab? My porn tab. Mark, why is there a picture of Calvin Phillips boots on screen? Yes, very brave still. I wouldn't ever share my screen. I've only got that. I've got nothing else on. I watch porn on another computer. There you go. I'm kidding. Peter, late bid of that catwalk model who plays for Everton part-time. Has Soler signed yet? No, he hasn't. Nick, shows your browser history. This was a mistake, wasn't it? It was an absolute mistake. What else have we got? Attacker travels to finalise his West Ham move. Maxwel Cornet travels to finalise his move to Southampton. The outlet reported on its live blog on Friday. What outlet? Whatever outlet is, that is on his way. The Ivorian is heading to the south coast to put the finishing touches on his agreement with Saints ahead of a season-long loan. So there you go. Maxwel Cornet is going to Southampton. What else have we got here? Any other breaking news? Two Spanish clubs. Here we go. Two Spanish clubs looking for... Come on. No, doesn't want to do it. No problem. If it takes that long, it's not worth reading. What else have we got? Southampton, we know. Exit drops. That is way down. So let's go back up to the latest. Another scroll. West Ham, 7 p.m. deadline roundup. Here we go. 7 p.m. deadline roundup. So Hammers News have collated all the latest updates regarding potential incomings and outgoings at West Ham United at 7 p.m. Blah, blah, blah. They do waffle. Hammers News. It does wind me up. Julian Lopetegui has worked wonders. Yeah, we know. However, the Spaniard will have to get rid of players. Yeah, we know that as well. 7 p.m. deadline. Some bad news to start with. Man United apparently attempted to hijack our move for Carney Chukwuemeka, which I talked about earlier on. Betting news, though, is confirmed that Carlos Soler is in London undertaking his medical. Nothing new so far. Hopefully, we'll get a deal for the Spaniard done before 11 p.m. deadline. Who knows? Maybe one more will follow as well. James Ward-Prowse is currently undergoing. He's already done his medical at Nottingham Forest. Meanwhile, Celtic is said to be showing an interest in Andy Irving, but Andy Irving has already said that he's going to fight for his place. In addition, Nijvergerd is said to be in talks with the Liga side, Real Sociedad, about a season-long loan to Spain. It doesn't get much better than this. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, thanks a lot. That 7 p.m. update is no better than the 6 p.m. update I gave you lot. Let's get out of that. Boring now. It's boring me. So it's it. I don't know what else to tell you. This is the update. We've done an hour of this already, and there isn't much more to tell you on apart from what I've already said. Let's go back and talk through what we've said. Nottingham Forest deal for James Ward-Prowse is looking almost done. It looks as if James Ward-Prowse has passed his medical and he will be signing on a season-long loan deal for the club with no option to buy, no obligation to buy, and not even a loan payment. All Nottingham Forest are doing is taking on his 150 grand, 15 grand a week salary. Maxwel Cornet, the loan deal to Southampton, is on. He's there taking his medical. All he's got to do, just pass that medical, Maxwell, and you'll become a Southampton player for the season ahead. Again, loan, no loan payment. Kurt Zouma, Al-Orobah have finalised in the contracts with him. He is now going to be a player in the Saudi League. We are paying a portion of his salary. Carlos Soler, player in London for medical. That should be a done deal by the end of the day or by 11 o'clock. Nijvergerd, the player, the only deal that we had on the table so far was Al-Ittihad, who offered £4 million plus £17 million to sign the player on a permanent deal at the end of this season. But the player prefers to play in Spain. And the latest update is Real Sociedad are the club that are looking potentially at signing him. But it won't surprise me for 1 minute if he ends up staying at West Ham United. Andy Irving, there have been Scottish bids in for him as well as interest from Austria and Spanish clubs. Irving has said that he would prefer to stay at West Ham United and fight for his place. And Carney Chukwuemeka is the latest player rumoured to be linked to us. Depending on what you read, Man United are trying to nick him from us. We're trying to nick him from Man United. It's a loan deal. He's on 100 grand a week already. He was a player that was signed from Aston Villa for £15 million in 2022. He made 16 senior appearances for them, plus another 20 senior appearances for Chelsea, 2 goals and 1 assist. Good technically, great vision, good passing ability, versatile midfielder, good aerially, good on the ground, great composure, good work ethic, needs to improve on his defensive duties. Could be a player, and I'm speculating wildly, but I like the Reece Nelson one. Going to go back to that in a moment. Could be a player that potentially we could convert as a striker, or the surprise player could be Reece Nelson from Arsenal, who can play all along the front line. Ideally, he prefers to play out wide, but he's a player that can also play up front, and he's got decent pace as well. Watch out for that one. I wonder if that could be the surprise player. Right, a few more comments, and then I'll leave you to it, and I'll be back later on tonight. If you're new to the channel, please press the like button. Please become a subscriber. I'll be on after 11 o'clock tonight when the transfer window shuts. I'm not going to try and compete with all the other West Ham channels to do a window show, but I'll be on later, and I'll have some special guests to talk about our squad. GP, Stel, do you feel we lack a striker? I do. What else? Danny Boy, it's nasty, mate. Heard it's hard to come off the moor. Oh, mate, we all wish you well, Nick. We really do. Epic. Soler is an aging player. It's smarter to get him on loan than to buy him. He's 27, but that's not too bad. I mean, younger than Ward-Prowse. But yeah, it was always going to be a loan deal anyway. But I'm surprised that Paris Saint-Germain are letting him come without an obligation to buy. Mark, Stel, just heard from a source that Cornet loan has an option to buy. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Charles, Stel, you are the best in this best of the chat. Thank you, Charles. I really appreciate that too. GP, would lick Duran. That's a bit disgusting, isn't it, GP? Think we might end up regretting not paying Villa 40 million. Would like Duran. Jason, Stel, can we swap Foderingham for Southampton's new keeper? Yeah, they've done some good business, Southampton. Montana. Yes, we do not commit to paying a high fee in case he doesn't fit in. I doubt he will go back anyway. Graham, great coverage on a busy day. Good to thank you, Graham. Much appreciated, mate. I hope you're well. Gary B, maybe a good sign last season. Wolves, Kilman playing 2-1 against Man City. There you go. We're going to win tomorrow. Robert, Saudi window closes next week. It absolutely does. But what we need to do, if any of our players are going to Saudi, like like a Gerd, or like, well, we know Zouma's going, then we need to do our business to replace them before 11 o'clock tonight. Nick, mate, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Evening from a baking hot Perugia. Oh, mate, nice out there. Hope you like it. Thank you for joining, Sean. I hope you're well. It's me, Sam. Any news on Lingard, Maguire, and McTominay? Last minute deals on all three, mate, and then we'll win the league. Vic, good evening, mate. Good evening, Sean. How dare you? James, Saudi window is always closed. The aircon would be shut. Sky say Cornet deal done. There you go. There's the breaking news. The Cornet deal is done. That's it, people. I'm going to leave you to it. I will be back on later tonight. Thank you all for joining. Really much appreciated. Join me after 11 o'clock for the Friday Late. We're going to do a roundup with guests to talk about the squad, talking about players we've signed. Hammerette, I'm going to look at all the players that we've sold, all the players that we've brought in, look how much money we've spent, etc., etc. So thank you for joining. And look, people, it's not been a bad window, has it? Let's enjoy the rest of the season now that this window is about to shut. See you all later tonight. Join me. I'll see you soon.